So, hello again, everybody. I live streamed earlier today, and now I'm live streaming again because today is Saturday and I have some time. So, welcome. My name is Sam. I'm from the United States, and I'm trying to help people learn English. The other day, somebody asked me to do some content on relative clauses. So, what does a relative clause do? A relative clause tells us specifically about what we're talking about, right? So this first sentence, if I say, the man speaks 5 languages, right? We want to know what man, like who are we talking about? So we use the word who. Which man? The man who works at the front desk speaks 5 languages. So who speaks 5 languages? The man at the front desk. It's fairly simple. Number 2, which hotel did I stay at last month? Or what was the hotel like, right? The hotel that I stayed in last month was excellent. All right, so sorry. Which hotel was excellent? The one that I stayed in last month, right? Specifically that hotel. The hotel which I stayed in. Yes, you could. You could say the hotel which I stayed in, but it just sounds more natural to say the hotel that I stayed in. Now, who complained about the Wi-Fi? Or no, who has left? The guest who complained about the Wi-Fi has left, right? The word who tells us which person. Which restaurant is this? This is the restaurant which serves the best seafood in town, right? You could also say that. This is the restaurant that serves the best seafood in town. So which restaurant are we talking about? We're talking about the one that serves the best seafood. The one which serves the best seafood. So, who is very patient? The woman who trains new staff is. The woman who trains new staff is very patient. Again, these are relative clauses, right? Is that what they're called? Yeah, relative clauses. So, which report contains important data? The report that you sent yesterday contains important data, right? Relative clauses helps us understand what exactly we're talking about. Number 7, I need a colleague who can work night shifts. Who do I need? I need a colleague who can work night shifts. I don't need just any colleague. Specifically, I need a colleague who can work night shifts. So, what is a colleague? A colleague is somebody who works with us, a co-worker. So practice saying the word colleague. Colleague. Smilo, friend. Yeah. Colleague could be a friend, but specifically a colleague is somebody who works with us or perhaps studies with us or teaches with us. So which flight is usually late? The flight which arrives at 8 p.m. is usually late, right? Specifically that flight. We're not talking about any flight, we're talking about one special flight. The flight which arrives at 8 p.m., 8 in the evening. So arrive means to come, right? The flight lands at 8 p.m. and it's usually delayed. Delayed means late, right? The flight which arrives at 8 p.m. is usually late. So who is she? Which manager is she? There are many managers, and she is the manager who makes all the final decisions. Practice that word, decisions. 3 parts, decisions, decisions. Tanya from Ukraine. Hello, Tanya. Welcome. Thank you for coming. SND, use of that is similar with whom, but whom for human. That is correct. That could be for things or animals, but who and whom are for people, for humans. So she is the manager who makes all the final decisions. That's the one she is. Format. Let me get rid of these pages. I don't like pages. I like pageless format. There we go. Where am I? Number 10. I don't think I will have time to get through all 100 of these relative clauses today, but I'll see. Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you for those who followed me. My name is Sam. I'm from the United States, and I try to help people with English communication here on TikTok. I have a WhatsApp group. I would love it if you joined. You can find that in my bio. And I will put this document in that group at some point. Well, maybe I could do that now. Let's see here. I need to share this document. File, share, share with others, general access, anyone with the link, copy the link. I wonder if TikTok will allow me to share this in the TikTok comments. Maybe not. Maybe. We'll see. My comment was not posted because of this live settings. I cannot post the link here, but I can post it in the WhatsApp group. So if you want this document, please join my WhatsApp group and you will find it there. Okay, anyway, today I'm talking about relative clauses. The book that I'm reading now is about business English. So which book am I reading? I'm reading the book that is about business English. The book that I am reading is about business English. All right, so now we're talking about a room. Which room are we talking about? Which room is more expensive? The room which has the ocean view is more expensive. The room that has the ocean view is more expensive. SND, please find the link on my profile. You can join the group to that link. It's free. What book or which book? Well, I would say which book. Which book are you talking about? Right? There are many books. Which ones are you talking about? Rio says, Thầy Sam ơi. Rio ơi. Dạ. Number 12, talking about relative clauses. Mopi Noviana. So you have 2 sessions live in a day. Sometimes I do it 2 times in a day. I always do it in the morning. Sometimes I do it in the afternoon. Number 12, which customers receive a discount? Customers who book early receive a 15% discount. Number 13, this is the contract that we need to sign, right? Which contract do we need to sign today? We need to sign this contract. Or what is this contract? This is the contract that we need to sign today. Thầy có vợ chưa? Có rồi. You can say dạ, don't you? Yeah. Emina 19. 14, talking about relative clauses. The teacher who taught me relative clauses was very clear. So which teacher was very clear? Who was very clear? The teacher who taught me relative clauses was very clear. So here we're talking about an app. Which app is free? The app which helps me practice English is free. Now, defining relative clauses with prepositions. The person to whom I spoke is the hotel owner. So why do we say whom and not who? This is confusing, I think. The person to whom I spoke. So think of this as, who and whom is the same as the difference between he and him. Who is he? Right? Or whom do you know? I know him. Right? I'm going to try to put this in bold. I know him. So whom do I know? Whom do I know? I know him. Who is he? He is my friend. Right? It's a little bit confusing to know when to use whom and when to use who. But if you would think about it in terms of how you would answer. Do I answer with him or he, or she or her? Object pronoun. Yes, I believe that is correct. Very good. I'm kind of fuzzy on these grammar words. So DNKV4 says, why not who I spoke to? Well, think of it like this. I spoke to him. You don't say, I spoke to he. It's wrong. You say, I spoke to him. I spoke to her, not I spoke to she. So, to whom did I speak? I spoke to him. But who is she? She is my friend, right? The difference between whom and who is like the difference between she and her, or he and him, or I and me. It's a bit difficult to figure that out, but with practice you will do fine. Number 17. Right, XXX girly. This is the hotel in which I worked for 3 years. So, in which hotel did you work for 3 years? This one, right? This is the hotel in which I worked for 3 years. The reading for which we prepared is tomorrow. So when is this meeting for which we prepared? It's tomorrow. The person who I spoke to is the hotel owner. That's not actually correct. You should say this person whom I spoke to, right? I spoke to him. Yeah, it is a bit confusing, isn't it? Sorry about that. Number 19. She is the client with whom we signed the big contract, right? We signed the big contract with her. Right? We don't say with who, because with her, we signed the contract. We do not say with she. And if it was a man, we would not say with he, we would say with him. Right? With him. But she is the contact, or the client, with whom we signed the big contract. So which problem did we talk about? The problem about which we talked about has been solved, right? There are many problems, but we did not talk about all of them. But the problem about which we talked has been solved, right? We talked about a problem, and that problem is the one that has been solved. Which problem? The problem about which we talked, right? The other problems we did not talk about, So those are not the ones that have been solved, right? The problem about which we talked has been solved. The one we talked about. Defining relative clauses, number 21. The documents on which we need signatures are ready, right? We need signatures on the documents, and those documents are ready. So which documents? The documents on which we need signatures are ready. Those are the documents that are ready. The ones that need signatures, the ones that we need to sign. Says, can it also be the problem which we talked about has been solved? Yes, that would also be correct. Yeah. And that would probably sound more easy to understand, right? The problem which we talked about, the problem about which we talked. Both are okay. But what said is more natural in speech, right? The problem which we talked about, the problem that we talked about. 22, relative clauses. This is the colleague from whom I learned the most, right? Not from who, from whom, right? If we're talking about a man, I would say, he is the man that I learned the most from. I learned the most from him, not from he, from him, right? Not for who, for whom. This is the colleague from whom I learned the most. I learned the most from him. I learned the most from her. I'm going to type that. I learned the most from him. Right? Please take note of this. I think this is the easiest way to understand this. Right? Notice that whom and him both end with M. In a good mood, send a finger heart. Thank you. Oh, wow, there's all kinds of gifts. Thank you. We've got roses getting sent. Nachion Boy sent a rose. Newspaper sent a rose. Nunu sent a rose. Thank you so much for the gifts. That's really nice. And thank you for the follows and shares. I love that. So, relative clauses. Relative clauses tell us specifically what we're talking about, right? So 23. The project on which we are working is very challenging. So which project is very challenging? The one on which we are working. The one we are working on. The one which we are working on. The project that we are working on is very challenging. Or the project on which we are working is very challenging. Chị Mượn Bờ Vai says, he is the colleague who I learned the most from. No, it should be he is the colleague whom I learned the most from. Because I learned the most from him, not from he, right? A little bit tricky, a little bit difficult to understand why use whom or that or who, but I'm trying to help. Turgut Hamid says, hi Sam, thank you for live lessons. My pleasure, Turgut. Thank you for coming and welcome. So which bed was extremely comfortable? The bed in which I slept was extremely comfortable. Comfortable. Try saying that word with me, or after me. Comfortable. Comfortable. Got to get that F sound. Comfortable. 3 parts, right? Comfortable. Strange word. All right. Number 25, defining relative clauses. The strategy by which we increased sales worked well. Right? So this strategy increased sales. That is the one we're talking about. We're not talking about all strategies. We're talking about one strategy. We're talking about the one by which we increased sales. Right? We got more sales. let's stop and say this word. Try to pronounce this just like I do. Strategy. We possibly could target Hamid, but I'm a little busy after this lesson. What time is it? 2 already. It's already getting late in the afternoon. Strategy. Notice usually I will say the T soft, like a D. I don't say strategy, I say strategy. Duh. Strategy. Strategy. If you're just now joining us, welcome. Thank you for coming. My name is Sam, and I'm from the United States, trying to help people with their English. So if you want to learn English, you're in the right place. Today, I'm talking about relative clauses. So non-defining relative clauses. Why use by? Why use the word by? That's a good question. The strategy which we increased sales. Well, by is because we're talking about a different verb, right? Increased. The strategy by which we increased sales. The strategy which increased sales. I guess it's really the word we that makes us need the word by. Because if we deleted we could say the strategy which increased sales worked well. The strategy which increased sales worked well. So if there's no we, then we don't need by. The strategy by which we increased sales worked together. The strategy which increased sales worked well. SND says, but when we are speaking with native speakers, do they understand if we are wrong using who or whom? Some people don't notice. Some people, like me, will notice, but it's okay. It's not a big mistake. It doesn't really matter, because when communicating, you just want them to understand what you're saying. You don't have to be perfect, but you should try to learn the best grammar you can, I think. Kaing Zin Y says, how to talk like a native speaker. My pronunciation is really bad. I want to talk but shy. Well, don't be shy. Not with me, at least. I want you to feel comfortable. Anyway, non-defining relative clauses with commas. Oh, this is going to be fun, maybe, or not. Nunu sent a rose. Thanks for the roses. Okay, so my manager, who has 20 years of experience, is very supportive. So when you use commas like this, notice that this whole phrase needs to be inside commas. Now, why? This is because this is a, how do you say, a unconditional phrase, I think. I can't remember. But anyway, we can get rid of this. My manager is very supportive, right? The sentence is still correct if we get rid of it. So we must keep those things inside commas, right? My manager, who has 20 years of experience, is very supportive. My manager is very supportive. Again, this one, right? We can get rid of this. We could delete this, and we would still have a correct sentence. So the new hotel, which opened last month, is already fully booked. We could also say the new hotel is already fully booked. That would still be a complete sentence. Again, see this stuff inside the commas? We could delete this and we would still have an okay sentence. So Mr. Tanaka, whom I met in Tokyo, is coming to visit next week. So Mr. Tanaka is coming to visit next week. Oh, Kaing Zin Y joined the WhatsApp group. Great, thank you. Welcome and enjoy the WhatsApp group. Inside, Bernoulli says, inside the commas is called appositive. I don't know. I'm a little bit stupid. I think it's called an independent clause or a dependent clause. I'm sorry, I don't remember what it's called. But everything inside the commas you can get rid of and still have an okay sentence, right? So Mr. Tanaka, whom I met in Tokyo, is coming to visit next week, right? Mr. Tanaka is coming to visit next week. And notice that it's whom, not who, right? Because I met him in Tokyo, not I met he, right? Larissa Nguyen Ha says, hello teacher from Vietnam. Hello, welcome, thank you for coming. How can I join the WhatsApp group? Says wait. The link is on my profile. Or you can message me here on TikTok. All right, number 44. Getting through these pretty quickly. It's good. Our flagship product, our main product, which sells very well, needs updating. We need to update our flagship product, right? Our flagship product needs updating. Our flagship product, which sells very well, needs updating. Mia Tik Kam Hoa. Mia, why don't you send me a message on Zalo? My Zalo number is on my profile. 45. Hanoi, which is the capital of Vietnam, is a beautiful city. Hanoi is a beautiful city. Hanoi, which is the capital of Vietnam, is a beautiful city. Do you Vietnamese people here agree with that? Is Hanoi beautiful? I think so. Not all of it, but a lot of Hanoi is very beautiful. All right. Relative clauses today. If you're just joining, my name is Sam. I'm from America, and I'm talking about relative clauses. So if you're learning English, welcome. And if you're not learning English, welcome too. Welcome everybody. My best friend, who lives in London, speaks perfect English. My best friend speaks perfect English. Bernoulli says, how can I get the file you explained this moment? I post, okay, so I cannot share it here. TikTok won't let me. You can find it in the WhatsApp group. The link is on my page, my TikTok page. So if you want this document, you can access it for free, but you have to go into the WhatsApp group. So 47, the conference, which was held online, was very successful. Right? The conference was very successful. But which conference are we talking about? There were many conferences. We're talking about the conference which was held online. That one was very successful. The conference that was held online, that is also okay, right? The conference that was held online was very successful. In this sentence, it's better to use which, I think. The book, which I bought yesterday, explains grammar clearly. So which book are we talking about? We are talking about the book which I bought yesterday. It explains grammar clearly. All right, so we've got another one where there's who, not whom. Before we were saying many with whom, and now it's who. So our CEO, who started the company in 2015, is retiring soon. So we would say he started the company, not him started the company. So that's why we use who and not whom, right? He started the company. He is the one who started the company in 2015, and he's retiring soon. So let me go through these one at a time. Emna1019 says, what's the difference between that and which? Usually, either of them are okay, right? Sometimes that and which basically are the same, but which is used to ask a question. Which man or which car is yours? All these cars, which one is yours? And you would say, that car is mine. Rita says, why you put a comma? So I put a comma, actually I put 2 commas because I can remove this and the sentence is still okay, right? Our CEO is retiring soon. That is a correct, good sentence. But if we want to add this, this is a dependent clause. So we need commas. Our CEO, who started the company in 2015, is retiring soon. PA3436 says, why not whom here? Because we would say he started the company, not him started the company. Difficult to explain, right? Because he is the one doing something. It's not something happening to him, right? If I said, our CEO, whom I spoke to yesterday, is retiring soon, right? I spoke to him. That's why I use the word whom, if something is happening to him. So let me write that one. Our CEO, to whom I spoke yesterday, is retiring. That would still be correct, right? Because I spoke to him, not I spoke to he. But he is the one who started the company. Right? This is really difficult to explain. Quabel says, I'm late. What are you teaching now is considered noun clause. This is considered relative clause. Emna says, thank you. Nancy Agro says, hello, teacher. Hello, Nancy Agro. Oh, you sent me a heart. That's so nice. Thank you. Emna says, who, he, whom, him. Exactly. So the action is from the person to the object, not the other way around. Yes, correct. So all sentences can have a comma. Not exactly. Why we use whom? Well, whom. You use whom when you would use him and not he. That's my easiest way to explain it. Right? Our CEO to whom I spoke, right? I was talking to him. I would not say I was talking to he, right? I was talking to him. So he's the person to whom I was talking, right? But he started the company. So our CEO who started the company is retiring soon. Oh, somebody said it's a competent explanation. Thank you so much. It's very difficult to explain. You know, what's strange is I am a native English speaker, and I didn't really understand this until I learned German, because this grammar comes from German into English, and it's a little bit more complicated in German, but it makes a little bit more sense in German. So when must we have a comma? In this case, we need a comma. We need 2 commas. See, look at the commas here. We need 2 of them because this is a dependent clause, right? That means if I only say who started the company in 2015 and it's not a question, that is not a complete sentence. That is a dependent clause. But this other part, this is an independent clause. So our CEO is retiring soon. That sentence is correct. But if we want to add this, we need 2 commas, right? Our CEO, who started the company in 2015, is retiring soon. Bernoulli says, use whom because it refers to the object rather than the subject. Yes, thank you for that. So how about whose? Whose is like asking about ownership or belonging, right? Whose car is this? That's one way. The person whose car is on fire is asleep. I don't know why I thought of a car being on fire, but whatever. Okay, moving on with relative clauses. Grammar today. Nobody likes grammar, right? It's more fun to work on pronunciation. But today, here we are, working on grammar. Relative clauses. Number 50. Da Nang, where I grew up, has grown a lot in recent years, right? Da Nang has grown a lot in recent years. Da Nang, where I grew up, has grown a lot in recent years, right? I grew up there. It's the place where I grew up, and it has grown a lot in recent years. Relative clause number 51. The proposal, which we spent weeks preparing, was accepted. Rat says, thank you, you're welcome, Rat. Avocado says, are you based in Vietnam? Yes, I am based in Vietnam. So which proposal was accepted? Ah, the one we spent weeks preparing, right? The proposal which we spent weeks preparing was accepted. It's MNHNG says, great pronunciation of Da Nang. You've learned Viet somewhere. Yes, I learned Vietnamese in Vietnam. I live in Vietnam. And I find it really annoying when I hear tourists say, Da Nang. Do you like Da Nang? Let's go to Da Nang. Da Nang. Kind of like, same with Nha Trang. I live in Nha Trang, but the tourists say Nha Trang. Do you like Nha Trang? Nha Trang. Quabel says, my Vietnamese teacher taught that we were only to use comma after specific nouns' names. Well, it's more complicated than that. Maybe I should do a live stream on comma usage, but there are many different times when you need to use commas. And can you explain why you put a comma before Da Nang? Okay, so why do we actually need two commas. Again, here we have a dependent clause, which we spent weeks preparing, is not a complete sentence. So I'm going to write that. Which we spent weeks preparing. Incomplete sentence. Right? So this is a dependent clause. This is not right. This would be bad English, right? Which we spent weeks preparing. It's also confusing. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. How can I cross through this? I cannot figure that out. Maybe I'll put it in italics, right? This is a wrong sentence. But, look at this. Here, let me move this stuff around. Don't be sorry about bad English. Not a problem. So this sentence is correct. The proposal was accepted. This is an independent clause, and it's a complete sentence. So this is correct. Complete sentence. Okay, so the reason that we need two commas is because we could remove this and we would still have a correct sentence, right? The proposal was accepted. But if we want to add this, so we're more specific, we need the proposal which we spent weeks preparing was accepted, right? That specific proposal. Not any proposal. I'm talking about the one which we spent weeks preparing. by which JMB, I'm sorry, but I missed the chat, so I'm not really sure what people are talking about. Will this grammar things come out in the TOEFL or IELTS test? Kind of. You need good grammar to get a good grade on the IELTS test. Nacha says, good morning, beautiful soul. Hope you're going well. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. Again, my name is Sam. I'm from the United States, and today I'm talking about relative clauses in English. All right, 52. Sarah, whose English is excellent, will lead the presentation. It's incomplete because there's no subject. Let me go back and look at it. Which we spent weeks preparing. Right, there's no subject, yeah. Shoot, what did I just do? I maximized this stupid thing. Now I don't know how to make it smaller. Oh, there, sorry. Sorry, I'm just having some technical problems here. Why can't I move this? Dumb. Whatever. Anyway, please, where and when should a comma be introduced into a sentence? Well, I've said it many times, I'll say it one more time. You need two commas here because this is a dependent clause, because it cannot be a complete sentence on its own. If I only say, whose English is excellent, and it's not a question, it is an incomplete sentence. But Sarah will lead the presentation is a complete sentence. It is an independent clause. Number 53, the old system. Which system did we use for 5 years? The old system, right? Or whatever. The old system which we used for 5 years has been replaced, right? We replaced the old system. Which system did we replace? We replaced the old system which we used for 5 years. You could also say that the old system that we used for 5 years has been replaced. Man, grammar is a pain in the butt, isn't it? In it. So, my sister, who works as a flight attendant, travels a lot. She works as a flight attendant. My dig says which or that. You can use either one. Both work for this sentence, for that sentence. Rita says, in my school, I was learned that I will put a comma after this, that, these, those, proper nouns. Yeah. The usage of comma is not something that I could explain very quickly right now while I'm talking about relative clauses. So sorry about that. Anyway, I could just say with this one, my sister travels a lot. Or more specifically, using a relative clause, my sister who works as a flight attendant travels a lot. The training course, which costs $299, is worth every penny. Again, we have this dependent clause here. It cannot be a complete sentence. We need comma at the beginning and a comma at the end. Because the training course is worth every penny, that would be a complete sentence. But the training course, which costs $299, is worth every penny. Let's move on. Relative clauses with where, when, why, or whose. I hope that I can explain this okay. This is the hotel where I learned to speak English. This is the hotel, you cannot say that in this one. This is the hotel that I learned to speak English, because where, we're talking about a place, right? We must use where. The hotel where I learned to speak. Where did you learn to speak? I learned to speak at this hotel. This is the hotel where I learned to speak English. Number 57 in relative clauses. Again, if you want this document, you can access it through the WhatsApp group, and the link is in my bio. 2025 was the year when I started my own business. Simple, right? When? Because I'm talking about time. 2025 was the year when I started my own business. If I say, when did you start your own business? You'd say, in 2025, I started my own business. That was the year when I started my own business. 58. The reason why I joined this hotel is the great team. I'm going to go quickly past this one. I don't know about that sentence. Doesn't seem completely correct to me. Celia says, hello, Sam. How are you doing today? Thank you, Celia. I'm doing great. Pipatara, good teaching. Oh, thank you. Really appreciate you guys coming and liking and all that stuff. Thank you for following me, those who follow. So, did I say this one? She is the student whose pronunciation improved the most. Right? Who is the student that improved their pronunciation, right? She is the student whose pronunciation. So think of that as, who is the student? Who's the student? And here we would spell it differently. She is the student whose pronunciation improved the most. Tao Ngo says, good afternoon, teacher. Good afternoon, Tao Ngo. Julia Mazepova, good morning from Kiev. Hello, Julia Mazepova. Thank you for coming and welcome. Monday is the day when we have our weekly meeting. When? What day? Monday is the day when we have our weekly meeting. Star says, hi, Sam. Hi, Star. Thank you for coming and welcome. My name is Sam. I'm from America, and I'm trying to help people with their English. 61. Where are we talking about? The town where we opened our new branch is growing fast. Let me go through these a little bit quicker. That's the restaurant where we had our first date. There are many situations where polite English is essential, right? Very important to have polite English in many situations, right? In those situations, polite English is essential. Star says, where can we find the lecture you are explaining? You mean this document? You can access this document in the WhatsApp group. I cannot share the link here because TikTok will not let me. Look at my profile. So if you click my profile, you can find a link to the WhatsApp group where you can get this document if you want it. Tao Ngo says, can you speak Vietnamese? Yes. Thầy có thể nói tiếng Việt. Thầy sống ở Việt Nam 8 năm rồi. Hello. 64, this is the colleague whose ideas are always creative. So a colleague is like a coworker, right? Somebody that works with me. So this is the coworker whose ideas are always creative. Love your pronunciation when you speak Vietnamese. Oh, thanks, Emma. Thầy cảm ơn. My dig says, compañero. Hola, amiga. The moment when the guest smiled was very satisfying. Right? Again, we're talking about time, a certain moment, right? Not any moment, but the moment when the guest smiled, that was very satisfying. Say with me the word satisfying. How many syllables? Satisfying. 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 The moment when the guest smiled was very satisfying. 66. Wow, I might actually get through all 100 relative clauses today. It's amazing. Can we say that English is a unifying language? I think we could say that. Yeah, I would call it the modern lingua franca, right? It's the language that you can use almost anywhere. Nga'afat Luan Tilbi says something about Buddha, wishing you all the best. Thank you so much. Quabo says, do you teach at any schools or English centers right now? I teach online a little bit. So if you're interested in learning with me online, send me a message. Number 66. Do you know the reason why the flight was delayed? Right? We're talking about an airplane, a flight. It was delayed. It was late. I want to know why. Do you know the reason why the flight was delayed? I joined the WhatsApp group, but you can or cannot see the document. So in the WhatsApp community, there are more than one group, and this group is teaching materials. That's where you can find this document. So I hope you can find it. 67. The house where I grew up has been sold. Right? What house are we talking about? We are talking about the house where I grew up. Oh, look at that. 6-7. Cracks me up. God, I love the 6-7 thing. Yeah, so that's 6-7, talking about the house where I grew up has been sold. Let's talk about a designer. But what designer? Which designer? Who are we talking about? She is the designer whose work we all admire. We all admire her work, so she is the designer whose work we all admire. When is the season most tourists visit? Summer is the season when most tourists visit. All right, we're talking about a time. Summer is the season when most tourists visit. 70. The client whose feedback helped us improve is very happy. They helped us improve, and they are very happy. Okay, moving on. The next section on these relative clauses is reduced relative clauses. What does that mean? I don't understand. Number 70. The man standing at the front desk is the new manager. Ming Ming says, Hallo. Können Sie Deutsch, Ming Ming? The man standing at the front desk is the new manager. Right? Again, we're talking about relative clauses. Help us understand exactly which thing we're talking about. Right? There are many things out there, and when we talk, we need to know precisely what we're referring to. Ming Ming says, just a bit. Ein bisschen. Number 72. The documents sent yesterday need your signature. And we're using this past tense verb to talk about which documents. Which documents are you talking about? I'm talking about the documents sent yesterday. But now we're using present continuous to describe which guests we're talking about. Guests staying more than 7 nights get a free breakfast. Which hotel are we talking about? We're talking about the hotel located near the beach. 75. Which ideas are we talking about? We're talking about the ideas discussed in the meeting, right? Those ideas were excellent. So we could say, the ideas discussed in the meeting were excellent. Discuss means to talk about, basically. The ideas talked about in the meeting were excellent. The woman wearing the blue uniform is the head chef. So who is the head chef? Which woman? Ah, the woman wearing the blue uniform is the head chef. The system used by our team is very efficient. So which system is very efficient? The system used by our team is. Merch says hello. Hello, Merch. Thanks for coming and welcome. Aga says hi. Hi, Aga. 78. So which books are more natural? Books written by native speakers are more natural. The price quoted, Aga says, what to do in this exercise is? Well, you don't need to do much. Try to repeat after me. Try saying, the price quoted includes service charge. Yeah, and in this exercise, we're also just trying to understand and get used to using relative clauses which help us know what we're talking about. Right? So in this one, 80, which staff perform better? The staff trained in customer service perform better. These are getting a little bit boring, I think. Aren't you guys bored with grammar? I'll try to do something more interesting next time. So maybe I'll just go to 90 today. Or you know what, let me just skip to this one. Everything that glitters is not gold. That means that everything that is beautiful is not good. Right? This is a good quote. You should memorize this. Everything that glitters is gold. Aga says, can you do something for 8 class exam? We have this in Poland. Why don't you send me a message and we can talk? All right, I'm going to skip down to 97 just because I have to leave soon. 97. The opportunity which we missed last year came back stronger. So which opportunity came back stronger? The one we missed last year. Oh, I'm glad you like shadowing my English. Thank you. 98. This is the most interesting course I have ever taken. So interesting. Interesting. There's different ways to say this. You could say interesting. It's very interesting. Usually I say it like quickly, like Americans do, with 2 parts. Interesting. Oh, 3 parts. Interesting. Interesting. This is the most interesting course I have ever taken. Try saying that with me. Interesting. You are very interesting. 99. What guest are we talking about? The guest whose luggage was lost was very understanding. Right? Which guest was understanding? The guest whose luggage was lost was very understanding. 100. All right, guys, last one, relative clauses. Success comes to those who are willing to work hard and speak clearly. So T. Kim says, what do you mean by luggage? Luggage is like suitcases and backpacks. Luggage is the stuff you take with you when you go traveling. So let me see if I can insert an image of luggage. Let's see, search the web. Luggage. So this is luggage. There's luggage. So it's like backpacks and suitcases, many different pieces of luggage here. Now it says it's 101. Okay, well, whatever. Last one. Success comes to those who are willing to work hard and speak clearly. So notice that it's not whom, it's who. Success comes to those who are willing to work hard. So we would say, he is willing to work hard. The man whom I know works hard. The man whom I know, oh, I got that wrong. Look at me misusing commas. The man whom I know works hard. I know him. I'm just writing this here so that we can all see why sometimes it's who, sometimes it's whom. The man who I know works hard. So let me write this again. Who works hard? He does. Sanalina says, you want to practice with a native speaker. Please send me a message, Sanalina. I can probably help you. So who works hard? He works hard. The man whom I know works hard. I know him, right? So pay attention to the fact that there's an M here and here. I know him. I know her. Celia says, please, Sam, what does willing mean? Willing means that you are prepared to do something. I could say, are you willing to help me? Would you help me? Will you help me? Are you willing or are you not willing? Because if you are not willing to help me, that means that you will not help me, right? I will help you. I am willing to help you. All right, guys. Well, I hope that you will join the WhatsApp group and enjoy talking with everybody. We try to have fun in there. I share lots of documents and stuff. I'll also share this video if you want to see it again and practice your English. I also have an online course that maybe is still free. Maybe the free ones are gone already. But once it's paid, it's only $5. But the WhatsApp group is free. I would love it if you joined me there. Please send me a message and say hello. Tell me what you think I should live stream about next, right? Maybe make a comment, or maybe I'll make a poll. But anyway, have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, my friends. Stay safe, stay healthy, and lead happy lives.